Things change, things do up ahead. The story you're writing isn't written yet. This evening is only a page in the morning. Your writer will begin again.
The ink you breathe is never dry, and you won't predict your course, no matter how hard you try.
And while there will be more frustration and pain,
There will also be joy, fortune, and love.
up ahead and just out of view, the world is waiting for you. The world is waiting for you.
Up ahead and just out of view, the world is waiting for you. The world is waiting for you. So let me be your cure. I'll push your fears aside. Together we could find your
answers. And when it gets too dark, so dark we just can't hide, we will let love, oh, we will let love be our
up ahead.
and just out of view.
Up ahead.
I promise you, and just out of view,
The world is
waiting for you. The world is waiting for you.
Good morning. Okay, it's unusual for me to do an interview at this time, but this is someone coming in from New Zealand, Kathryn. She used to be a headmaster or headmistress, so or whatever the school principal, whatever the correct terminology is now. Anyway, let's get her on and find out what's going on. Hey, Kathryn, how you going? Ah, I lost sound. Where has her sound gone? 2 secs. It's probably me. 2 secs. Hello.
Hi,
No,
can you hear me
sorry.
now?
Yeah, there you go. There we go.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Well, it's morning over here anyway.
Yeah. So let's get started. Michael Ginsberg reached out to me and said, you got to interview this lady. So tell us what happened. So you were a school, before even that, why did you become a teacher? What was the driving force? Was it just for the money? Or just, what was that? What was
No.
the driving force?
Well, actually, I mean, I always loved kids, but I didn't actually go into teaching initially. I actually was working in rural New Zealand on horticulture, and that's because I grew up on an orchard, actually. But what got me into teaching was just my love of kids, really. And interestingly enough, I was actually a school dropout myself. I left school. yeah, I was. I actually. So I'm just going to have to get my dog. He's just. Hang on a sec.
Bring him in. Sit him on your lap.
Oh, he used to go to school with me, so I'm trying to keep him out because I'm sort of home on my own at the moment, and I'm trying to make sure everything's peaceful. But yeah, so yeah, I was a school dropout actually. I went back to, I hated school so much, and I went back to school for one day in what we used to call sixth form, which I think is year 12. And I just couldn't. I thought, no, I just can't do this. So I left school, and my dad said to me, he said you can have 3 days to find a job, and if you haven't got a job, you've got to go back to school. So I just walked the streets, and I did retail, and then I did a little bit of horticulture, but I went into teaching when I was about 27. So
Okay.
and it kind of was just, I felt like I kind of had to save the world, all the kids.
Yeah. What
Because
did you hate about school specifically?
I
Do you
think
remember?
I was just really disengaged, to be honest. I used to just stare out the
Yeah.
window.
Yeah, me too.
And yeah, I mean, I wasn't naughty, but I just was bored. And I think
Yeah.
I did have one teacher actually, because I was brought up in rural New Zealand, so you tended to keep the same teacher for about 4 years. And
Oh,
I
wow.
had one yeah, I had one teacher who didn't like me at all, and she used to just make me run around the field, and I was happy doing that. I'd much rather do that than be in the classroom with her. So yeah.
So you became a teacher. Did you enjoy being a teacher more than you enjoyed being a student?
Yes, I did. Yes, I loved it actually. And it wasn't, I actually never aspired to be a principal, but I was going through some personal circumstances, and I absolutely needed a full-time teaching job, because I had just been doing relief teaching while I was raising my kids.
Yeah.
And I had to look for a permanent full-time job, and the only one that was available at the time in my area was a teaching principal. So I applied for that, and I ended up loving it. So it kind of just
Cool.
went from there.
All right. So then what happened? How did we end up? Why now is there a conflict going on, or whatever's happening?
So I actually had quite a few roles pre-COVID, and right through COVID, and right up and even right through the mandate, but I'll sort of take you back a little bit.
Sure.
So I was a principal of a small rural regional school, 180 kids. And I was also a deputy principal of what we call a community of learning, which was kahuiako, which is a group of schools that get together, but it wasn't just schools, it was early childhood centres as well. And all of the funding went through that from the government. So for professional development, instead of it going through an individual school, it went through this whole collective of schools. So, and it wasn't just that, we kind of worked together for the good of the community and the kids and families. So
Yeah.
it was quite a beneficial system, but and that was 3,000 students who were sort of in that group.
Wow.
And I was the deputy principal of that group, as well as being a principal in my own school. And I was also a trustee of an organisation that provided support programs to at-risk youth and families that were struggling with multiple challenges. So I was very much connected
busy.
to, busy, but also very much connected to helping at-risk youth and families
love
that
it.
come from unfortunate or difficult backgrounds, challenging backgrounds. So yeah, I
You
did a lot of
really
work.
found
in
a
that
passion.
Yes,
The girl
yes,
who left
yes.
school because she hated it was now back in there, and you'd really found your passion.
Yeah, absolutely loved it. I was
Yeah.
thriving in that environment, and I really felt like
Yeah.
every day I was making a significant difference. I mean, the kids would run up to me as soon as I'd walk through into their classrooms, and they just, it really felt like I was, really positively influencing their lives.
That is beautiful. That is a beautiful
Yeah.
place to be. So what
Yeah.
happened?
So initially, like pre the mandate, I supported my school through multiple lockdowns, as we all did, followed the
Yeah.
regulations, opened the school for essential workers. And usually it was just me at the school because there was only a few kids, and most of the students were at home learning online with their teachers. So we provided resources for them to do that. And then once COVID hit, we obviously had to follow the regulations from the Ministry of Education, just did what we needed to do. I was working in a school that had a lot of social deprivation, so I was trying to help with ensuring that people had food and support for, we had families with family harm environments, addictions,
Wow.
All sorts of things going on, mental health, mental illness. So really making sure that those families were nurtured and that they had what they needed to get through those lockdowns, because as we know now, there was a lot of harm that happened in those spaces as a result of lockdown. And I always go to this one example because it just helps the listeners to understand how it impacts those kind of people in those communities, because you don't really know unless you're in that situation. And I was on road patrol one day, finished road patrol, and I noticed that one of my parents was still talking to a police officer who'd pulled up at the school. And through a series of unfortunate events, they'd actually lost their license or had their license taken off them because of too many demerit points. And I mean, neither of us had an issue with that. That's just the natural consequence of whatever it took to get into that space. But the problem was they were told to drive home, and that was all they could do until they got their license back. And I don't really know how long that takes. But the following day, we went into lockdown. And this was a parent who had 3 children under the age of 8 and no support, no family or connections to help. So how do you access food? How do you get what the kids need when you are isolated in that space and you've had your license taken off you? And they were like 10, 15 Ks drive to the nearest town.
Wow.
So that's just a really good example of how badly those decisions hit people in that space.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, people forget that even kids going to school, the essential service workers, even that must have been a really strange time. We seem to forget about that, So you're doing all this, you're doing everything you're supposed to do. So where did the conflict arise?
So the mandate happened, and as in the health sector as well as the education sector, we were given a deadline. So we were told we had to have a first vaccination by November the 15th, 2021, and the second one by late January. I can't remember the exact date, but late January 2022. So I've actually got a medical condition. I have anaphylaxis to undiagnosed triggers, and I've had 7 near-death experiences and never known what's caused them. So I'm super cautious about what I put into my body. I don't like to try new things. So I just didn't really want to take the risk. So I actually got an exemption very easily from my doctor. And then the New Zealand government removed the exemption clause, and basically it wasn't worth the paper it was written on. So then the process had to be that the only way you could get an exemption was to go through a referral to Dr. Bloomfield. And I can say quite emphatically, I don't know a single person in the country who got an exemption through Dr. Bloomfield, including people who had been...
He actually sounds like a James Bond villain, doesn't he?
Well, I mean, even people that were harmed.
A white cat on his lap when he came in and goes, "What an exemption!"
I mean, it's just really tragic because there were people that were actually seriously harmed, like heart attacks and strokes and things after the first vaccine, and they were still told they had to have a second one. They didn't. They weren't allowed to. To keep their jobs, they had to have the second vaccine, even if they'd been injured. So it was.
This is why we've interviewed everywhere nurses who said I as the same as you, and they're told go into the hospital and we'll have an anaesthetist there in case you are leaving us. He'll try to bring you back. You're going, what?
Yeah, that's what happened to me. I was told by my doctor when I went back the second time to try and get the exemption through Dr. Bloomfield, I'll go into the hospital. I'll do a referral for you to have the vaccine in the emergency department, and don't worry, because if you die, we'll bring you back to life.
Can you believe the doctor said that?
A doctor said that. That is direct quote words. Yeah.
I mean, they can't hear the insanity of what they're saying.
Yeah.
For your health, we're going to take you to the edge of death with a chance that if it goes bad, we might get you back. But it's for your health.
Yeah, but don't worry, we'll resuscitate you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, exactly. So I politely declined that option. Trying to go for sort of forward to getting up to the part where I've been in the situation I'm in. So my family, after I'd been terminated, well, I hadn't been terminated actually, I was still the school principal, and I had been stood down, so I was working from home. And I turned up because I was working in my school premises before 8 o'clock in the morning and after 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which I was allowed to do. I was allowed on site outside of school hours. The crazy thing is, my unvaccinated parents, and I had a lot of them, they were allowed on the school site during the day, but I, the principal, wasn't allowed on the school site during the day. But anyway, I was accessing the school through outside of the school hours, when the kids were there. And I turned up one day and the lock had been changed. And I thought, this is a bit odd. Why have they changed the lock without letting me know? So I was able to get in through an unsuspecting staff member who had no idea why the locks had been changed and told me, why weren't you given a key to, a new key? Yeah. And then when I went to do the alarm code was different as well, and I couldn't shut the alarm off. So I had to go back outside, run around and get that staff member and say, hey, can you come back in and help me, because I'm unable to get, the code's not working. Or it might have been, I don't remember if it was the one that was inside or there was a person that I rang, but I couldn't turn the alarm off. And
oh my God.
they told me the new code. And then I just went to my office and tried to hook my computer up to the school server, because I wanted to do some work on there, which is something I did every day. And I had been disconnected to the server, so I couldn't get onto the system. So I thought, what the heck's going on here? So I rang my board, my board members, and no reply. So then I emailed them, and I never got a response. I just said, why have I been locked out? I'm still the principal. What's going on here? No reply. So I thought, that's a bit odd. But what had happened is my school community had an outbreak right on Christmas, New Year of 2021. And all of the kids were asymptomatic.
Funny that.
Yeah. And unbeknown to us then, my families and I suspected something was odd with the PCR test, that it made them positive when they actually weren't sick. But of course, we know now that it throws out false positives. But they were basically quarantined for 3 weeks under this positive COVID test situation. And
a positive COVID test, and yet most of them were asymptomatic. So no one actually had. That's extraordinary, isn't it?
Correct. And right on Christmas and New Year, which is a stressful time for families anyway. And the hard thing is that we'd done 2 years or 3 years or whatever it was, 2 years, I think, of lockdowns. And this was their opportunity to be with their families, because they hadn't seen them for a couple of years. But that wasn't available for them because they got quarantined. Now, I'll be honest, I wasn't worried about most of my families. Majority of my families, I thought, they'll be okay. Look, they've done lockdowns and they've flown through it. They're okay. But there were definitely families I had big concerns about, which is, the ones that I've already mentioned with the mental illness, mental health issues, family harm, addictions, all that kind of stuff going on. And I knew who those families were. So, and what triggered my thought was that 2 of my families had actually managed to get RAT tests, because they were just coming into New Zealand at that time, and they got those RAT tests through their workplaces, because they were told that they had to do, for whatever reason, they had to do regular RAT tests to stay employed if they had a family member that had was infected. So my families were all told that if they tested positive with the PCR test, they wouldn't test negative for 3 weeks, regardless. And so a couple of my families, just being inquisitive and having access to these RAT tests, decided they'd just try it. And they gave their child a RAT test, and surprise, surprise, they came back negative. So they kind of put themselves out of quarantine. And I thought, okay, if there's 2 that managed to get negative results within days of being tested positive, then it makes you wonder if the rest of them are kind of in that situation as well. And like I said, I was just conscious of the fact that I was worried about my families that were potentially at harm. So I said to them, because they couldn't access RAT tests because they weren't available, I said, well, why don't we just do as a collection, just give me, all of you give me your data, and I will send it to through a lawyer, which I did it through a lawyer because I thought I'd try and protect myself through legal privilege. And the lawyer was going to engage with a medical professional for a second opinion. So that was my intent, was just so that it was trying to help the families that I had serious concerns for, because as we know now that the health response was very much focused on virus control and vaccination, and that's it. And they weren't at all concerned with all the other harms that that go on. I mean, you know, we're living in a country that's got the highest rates of family harm in the world. So those things are significant. They matter. And I knew how much my families were struggling in that situation. So that's why I did it. And initially, apparently, because I wasn't communicating with the doctor at all, never met him, never spoke to him, but my lawyer did, and she said initially he was on board and he thought, yep, no problem, and then we don't know what changed, and he ended up writing a letter of complaint to my board of trustees, and in that letter he actually said I should be struck off. And
wow.
yeah. So from there, getting back to the reason I was locked out, and again, like I said, none of this happened with my knowledge. It all just kind of continued with me being quite innocent. It wasn't until months later that I saw all the correspondence that came across my desk through the investigation process. But my board, I don't know whether they were told to check the computer system or whether they assumed that I had hacked into the computer system, but that's what they would believe, which hence why I was locked out. So they believed that I had hacked into the school computer system to get the data, and they consequently reported me not only to the Teaching Council but also to the Privacy Commission. So they did a deep dive. They came in and did a deep dive on the computer system. Surprise, surprise, they found nothing. That didn't stop the investigation. The investigation still carried on anyway. And it went on for 4.5 years. And yeah, I mean, I spent $40,000 on trying to represent myself legally, to no avail. The
4
process.
years. So basically, so what did they investigate? If they found out originally that there was no way, what are they researching for 4.5 years?
Well, that's a really good question, because I'm not sure how much I can say, but I just felt like every claim they had against me, we would go back with a counterclaim, and often we'd have really strong evidence, and it was often dismissed, and we were told it's not relevant. So I never felt like the process was a fair, open investigation. To me, it was just that's how I felt. I really just thought, it doesn't matter what I do, it doesn't matter what I say, they've got an outcome.
Yeah. They just want you gone, and publicly they want other principals to go, you do what Kathryn did, we'll come after you the same way.
I really feel that. I feel like I'm being held up as an example. If you don't comply, this is what's going to happen. And interestingly, my investigation process was just paralleled so much to the other professionals who have been taken through a similar process: doctors, midwives, nurses, physiotherapists, you name it. There's lots of parallels in the system that they use to effectively incriminate you.
Yeah. It's basically just trying to get everyone to comply. They're using you as tools to terrify the rest of the people into complying. We're seeing it over here with Dr. Miley Trin and all the other doctors, nurses, anyone who challenges the system.
That's right. That's exactly right. Because it wasn't just me trying to help my school families. The other thing is I was part of New Zealand Teachers Speaking Out for Science. And through that organisation, I did collect data. Now, I'm happy to admit that, because I wanted to show the harms that were happening in the education sector as a direct result of the mandate. So I was collecting stories and accounts. I wasn't the only one. There were quite a few of us.
That's what I've done.
I mean, stories and people's experiences from all over New
Yeah.
Zealand and putting them into affidavits so that they could be used, potentially be used in court. I mean, I
Yeah.
put my hand on my heart and I will admit, I absolutely had no idea what or if my information would be used because I wasn't building the case. The lawyers were doing that. We were just told to collect the information, put it into affidavit format, because that's the only way the court can receive it. So yeah.
Wow. It's incredible, isn't it? And there, it's you can't actually get your head around it.
No.
I can't. But
No.
in any rational way, the only thing that makes sense is that their goal is control. That's all
Yeah.
they're interested in.
Yeah, I think
Nothing
you're right.
else makes sense.
I agree. I agree because essentially, in my case and all the other cases that I have knowledge of, they try to find somebody that will complain against you in some capacity, and it might be the slightest complaint that it gets twisted to suit the narrative. And yeah, I think in my situation, I think the person that was in that position probably didn't even know they were being, what they were saying was being used against me.
It's extraordinary how it starts, though, isn't it? I mean, this
Yeah.
is because think of history. I think of how the USSR started up, and you thought, oh, it started up at the point of a gun. You will comply. But now I'm realizing I don't think it did. It started because people just refused to stand up to incoming tyranny.
I agree.
Turned on people like you. You know.
I think it's
How?
right. I think, yeah.
Yeah, go.
I mean, in the education sector, it was really, really hard to find anybody that was willing to stand up and against it. I mean, I found that really hard to understand, I'll be honest, because I thought, how can anybody not see that a one size fits all medication is not going to work for everybody? And how can anybody agree that it's okay to give to put in force a medical intervention, and if you don't take it, you're going to lose your job, your business, your home? It's
Your life,
insane.
yeah.
I still can't understand why people didn't stand up against that.
Yeah. Yeah, we had it over here. Daniel Andrews, I was in Melbourne. Daniel Andrews said, we're going to be a vaccinated economy. Vaccinated, you're out. And they were, and you were out. I lost everything. And I'm a part of a community that suddenly, I tell people now it's like BC, AC, before COVID, after COVID, and we had to put our lives back together. The great tragedy, though, is that you found your calling. You're doing good in the universe. You know what I mean? It's a really difficult thing to find because it's suddenly not like work. This is my passion, and that's the great tragedy. And the community loses.
Yeah, that's right. I agree. I totally agree. The community have suffered great loss, not just from me, from many, many people. I mean, I know of doctors that are highly qualified.
Yeah.
Like spent 10, 15 years of study to get where they were, that are now sitting at home unemployed. It's criminal. It's
nurses.
criminal.
I've interviewed nurses who were, they'd won awards for nursing. They were really, and they were passionate. What really gets me is the people I found. This is really interesting. The people I find who I've interviewed who've really lost their jobs because of it, they're really passionate about their jobs.
Yeah,
a paramedic, Susanna in South Australia, she won Paramedic of the Year. Next year, a leper, kicked out.
Yeah.
They seem to get rid of the cream.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I can't help but think it's like overnight, if you were unvaccinated, you took on a new status where you could no longer be trusted, you had no reputation, you couldn't, suddenly we became, like you say, this leper status, and nobody could trust you. You're a granny killer.
We were the lowest rung in society.
Yeah.
Exactly. Ice addicts and everyone was above us. There was this period of time, and now the only people below us now are the vaccine injured who
Yes.
the state just doesn't want to know about,
Yeah,
you know.
that's right.
And
That's
that's
right.
what they've done. And the hard thing is for someone like yourself is how do you maintain your own sense of self-worth? Because,
Mm.
have you got time to grieve for everything you've lost?
Yeah, I
Because,
mean, I was quite lucky in that space, I'll be honest, because I did get another job quite quickly, and it was actually an online teaching job in a private school. So for the last 4.5 years, I've been going through this whole investigation process. I was not stood down for one single day. I was still teaching and leading in a private school. And then, of course, when I had my registration taken off me just recently, it was only in June. So what's that? Not even about 6 weeks ago.
yeah.
I was sacked from that job as well, because obviously you can't teach if you don't have a license. So I've lost 2 jobs. And
What was their finding, though? Why, in the end, after 4.5 years, why did they suddenly come to the conclusion that they had to take your license away? Or
well,
did they
they,
come up with a reason of an excuse?
I mean, like everybody, they say that you've brought the profession into disrepute. But yeah, that's what they say to everyone. Doesn't matter if you're a nurse, midwife, doctor, you've brought the profession into disrepute. So, but I think the argument that they tried to claim with my case is around consent, parental consent. Now, I had full consent from all of my parents to have their data rechecked by a doctor, because that's how I got the data. I wouldn't have been able to get it otherwise if they hadn't consented to it.
That's what they're
But
scared of. They don't want the
the
truth.
area the area in question is because later, much later, I wrote with full consent from parents. I wrote an affidavit on their experiences of that particular outbreak and for the litigation. But here's the thing. They rang up my parents, and they, again, part of the investigation could have been, were you aware? Oh, really, if it was an open investigation, it would have been something like, what was your understanding of how Kathryn used your data?
Yeah.
But that wasn't the question. And I mean, I actually haven't seen the questions, but I've been told by 3 of my parents, they all said the same thing. They all said the first thing they got asked was, did you know that Kathryn used your data in litigation? So one of them, it only takes one said no. But I was able to prove with the affidavit that parent who said no wasn't on the affidavit. Their information wasn't on there. So, and that's what I'm saying. It's like, even with that evidence, they dismissed that. They said that's irrelevant. You've used data without consent. And I said I agreed that not every parent consented to that, but I didn't use the parents' data who didn't consent.
Yeah, only the consenting. Do you know, the trouble is here, last night I interviewed Rainer Fulmick from jail. He was in jail. So I got that interview done with there. And he said when he first started with the Corona Committee investigations, he thought the world had just lost its way. And if he could come forward with reasonable arguments, they would go, oh, we get it. Oh, thank you. And let's get back to normal. But the world had shifted, and we're in 2 worlds now. One where people like ourselves still have common sense as our base, and that's it, and honesty and integrity. Even though they see us as scum, we actually have that as our base. The other side doesn't.
I mean, that's right, and like you say, we stood true to our values, and I mean, I had no issues sleeping at night. I did everything in my power to support my staff who were vaccine hesitant. I offered them stress leave. I offered them counselling. I said, you can have leave without pay. I mean, I obviously couldn't pay them for a long period of time, but I was happy to keep their jobs open for them so that when the mandate got dropped, they could come back. And I was also, I literally said to a couple of them, because I knew how much of a difficult decision it was for them, I literally said, look, I will hold your hand while you're having the vaccination if you agree to do it, if that's what you think is best. So, what more can I do? So at least I can sleep well at night knowing I supported those staff who were in those awful situations.
the person who investigated you, was it the same investigators or did they keep changing them? Because if they're watching now, it's quite clear that it's just a witch hunt. So they're not really investigating you as this great criminal. They're just finding anything at all they can to destroy
Yeah.
you because you challenge the government.
Yeah.
And the governments now, not just in New Zealand, but Australia, Canada, all over the Western world, for some reason cannot cope with people challenging them.
No, that's right. I mean, I was actually, gosh, it would have been about 3 months after I lost my job. So I was terminated in April. I was involved in an education summit, and there was a number of New Zealand politicians that were at that summit, and I was actually one of the speakers. And I spoke about a number of things, but one of the things was about the mandate harm and what it had done to me as a person who had a really valid reason for not taking the injection. And honestly, throughout that whole speech, that they were just looking down, and some of them had their hands like this. They just wouldn't acknowledge it. It's just too hard basket, you know. But they know. They absolutely know.
Yeah, but they don't want to deal with it because they became Nazis overnight. I'm sorry, but they did. That's the thing. They go, let's move on. Let's forget. We go, no. We want to remember because we became the Jews and you became the Nazis, and we want to remember because we don't want this to happen again. Not just to us, but to anybody.
Yeah,
we're a democracy,
that's right.
And you do not have the right to do this. You do not have the right to go, oh, I'm frightened of a little invisible virus, so I'm basically going to throw out the country's entire value system.
Yeah, I agree.
The country's identity, everything. I'm just going to throw all that away as long as I'm protected from this invisible virus.
Yeah, and I think like these other things that are encroaching, and I just want to really empower people to stand up, because what I'm seeing now is I've got a couple of colleagues who have just recently become employed in new schools, and they've had to sign disclaimers that say we will not put anything political on our personal social media. And I mean, for a start, what is political? I mean, that pretty much is everything, isn't it? Everything's political.
Absolutely.
So I just
you can't have a say about anything.
No, I mean, it's just so wrong. But I mean, that's like it's a very small encroachment on free speech, isn't it? Yes. So I think unless we start to stand up for these things, and like I say, I want to empower people. If you have a situation where you're employed in a new job and you see something like that, cross it out and sign the document with it crossed out.
Yeah, that's a really good thing too. Because what right do they have to basically say you're going to work for us, you're going to be silenced?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not just teachers. I've heard they're doing it for jobs everywhere. There's social media statements that say you can't say, if you post anything anywhere that anyone finds offensive, basically you lose your job. I mean, that's just the corporations removing free speech. And in the schools, we really want to talk about the schools because they're in the schools now. Well, I think Trump has just come out and said any teacher in America who suggests to a student they're born in the wrong body, that will be seen as child abuse. Yeah, Trump has just come out and said that the other day. I hope it is. I hope it's not AI. But you know, well, we don't know anymore. But
no, we don't.
Here's where we are. And as
teachers
are so important, like your job, even you, like obviously, you know, you have a certain personal standard. This is what we need because, you know, the thing about, have you heard of Plato's cave? That thing of people living in a cave, looking at images on the wall, shadows, and they think that's reality, where reality is outside. I see that now with Instagram. And all these other things is because of AI now. No one knows what's real or not.
That's right.
We're losing a grasp of reality. You know,
I agree. I mean, I saw a headline just this morning. I mean, I don't follow mainstream media, but it just popped up when I went to text my sister actually, and it said Dolly Parton had died, and I thought, now is that real or is it AI? You know, we don't even know.
So she has died. I saw a post.
Yeah, she has died.
Yeah, she died.
No, she died yesterday, and but I had to
Wow,
check
Dolly
it because I
Parton
thought, is it real?
Yeah, that's right. And there's things on saying it's kidney disease that she got after the jab. So,
Yeah,
whether that will come out. Wow, Dolly Parton.
yeah.
This
Well,
is where we're at.
she funded Moderna though, didn't she? She apparently she did. So
Well,
yeah,
it's like a religion's come across,
mm,
and it's a tyrannical religion. You can't
mm.
challenge it.
No,
Vaccines are safe and effective. If you challenge that,
yeah,
they will destroy
yeah,
your life.
yeah.
It's this is where they're at. And what have you
Yeah,
done? You've done nothing wrong except ask questions,
that's
and then
right.
proven your argument. You've got evidence together to say, hey, look, I think there's something here you should look at. But they
That's
don't
right.
want to debate.
No, no, no. No, and we've got a little bit of noise happening from Winston Peters over here because, of course, we're coming up to an election.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm yet to see him do something in this space. He
Yeah,
makes a
that's
lot of
right.
noise.
Yeah, that's right. Says the right things, but
Yeah.
and you wonder sometimes if they say the right things because they know there's a turning of the tide, and they're trying to hold
Yes.
on to those votes.
Oh,
You know.
100%. I mean, there's no question that he got in last time from the votes of those people who were angry about the mandate. There's no
Yeah,
question about that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But he did bugger all about it once he was in.
Yeah, that's right.
I
Exactly.
mean, we interviewed Barry Young just a
Oh,
few days
yes.
ago,
Yep. Yep.
and here's a man who has the evidence. He
Yes.
had greater access to the data because he set up the pay, the pay per dose thing. Greater
Mhm.
access to the data than the attorney general. He was watching people dying. He has
Yeah.
the evidence to show the
Yeah.
jabs were killing people, and they
That's
got
right.
the SWAT team to break down his door. And now he's
Yeah.
been waiting 1,000 days. This week could be 1,000 days for a trial, longer
Yeah.
than anyone. And that's because they don't want the truth in the court. And this is
That
what's
and
happening. Yeah.
the other part of that is because it was the same with me. I mean, that 4.5 years, it's designed to wear you down. I mean, I
Yeah.
was just exhausted by being in that space where you don't know your outcome is significantly worse than the harshest outcome. So
Yeah.
I've been struck off, but at least now I know. It's the not knowing where you're trying to do all the right things, and I was
Yeah.
completely staying silent and not saying a word to anybody, with the hope that I was still going to be, I was able to continue doing what I was doing. But now that that's not the case, I just think, well,
F you.
just
That's
come out
wrong.
and talk about it.
Well, that's it. Basically, they've changed the rules of society,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and fairness gone.
yeah,
Integrity now means, in their world, integrity means compliance. Shut up, do what you're
yes,
told, don't this. I mean, look
yeah,
what they said to people over. I don't know about New Zealand, but over here, Koshi, who is a morning news person, gets up and says, "What are you going to do with your family members who won't get vaccinated this Christmas?" And
mm,
so I still talk to people who were sort of banished from the Christmas table, and it
mm,
still sees
mm,
them tear up. And that's
yeah,
because Christmas Day in Australia, even though religion was sort of fading with a lot of people, it was a homage to love. It was a
yeah,
prayer to love. We came together, you gritted your teeth, you put up with family members you didn't want to do because it's Christmas. And then
mm,
suddenly the state goes, no, no, the unvaccinated can't come. And people
yeah,
relished it. They said, yeah, you can't
yeah,
come, get out of here. The devastation done
yeah,
to the community, and and then
yeah,
upon on that as well, we're still seeing the deaths every day. 18-year-old
yeah,
Taekwondo person dies in their
mm,
sleep. Bullshit.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's not like once a year. It's like every day
no,
there's two or three, and so we're in this cull almost. That's this
yeah,
slow emerging cull, and you're not allowed to mention it. You're not,
mm,
if suddenly there was a guy on the other day, someone said in a comment, does anyone know anybody who doesn't have turbo cancer? And you
yeah,
meet them, you're
yeah,
not allowed to say, do you think it's a jab?
mm,
You're not allowed. These
yeah,
people have to basically die in a lie. And it's not a environment that's conducive to our souls or not to mine. And I can see it's definitely not to yours. So I'm going to ask you a question that this really interests me because there's a film out at the moment called Odyssey, but our lives, and like your life has been an odyssey now, from before you'd even heard of COVID, where you were bang on into the calling of your life, to who you are now. How have you changed? What have you learned, and how have you changed for the better or the worse? Frozen? Oh. We'll just wait to see if she comes back in. The crime says it best. Yeah. Yeah, it's extraordinary. I just got these. Hi, Devon Lee. My Christmas Day a couple of years back was full of fear, not for the right reasons. A place at the table set for someone who was missing. Wow, man. So Dolly's gone, yes. Dolly Parton dead. Hey, Katie. Hi, Michelle. Yeah, considering it's the morning, it's a good interview. Let's see if she'll get back in. Don't cheat or lie isn't not ethical anymore. Telling the truth is not ethical anymore. The government hates competition. That's right, Leander. Now they've got this ASIO thing. Morning, Sharon. So it's okay to be a larrikin, but not a rebel. That's a really good point. Yeah. Sound is very low. I can't lip read. I'll give it a miss. Oh, I didn't realize. Is my sound low? Look up ASIO. They'll be looking up us soon. Yeah, okay. Well, we'll just wait here a bit just to see. There's we got an interview with Rainer Fulmick who went up last night, but I spelled his name wrong. So I've had to take it down. It will be going back up. And so I have to apologize for spelling his name wrong. Maybe, can you, hey, Claire, can you send her an email just to say just log back on? So we've lost our guest at the moment, so I'll see if she comes back on. Amazing story. Yeah. Be interesting to get her on with Stuart. Let's see right here. So anyway, the interview with the writer Formic will probably go up just after this. Might be a good time to do it. I've got it all ready to go. Hi, Michael and everyone. I'm off to another funeral. To another funeral from a friend's mum, 61. Washed her hours later, rushed to Melbourne on life support. Passed away 3 weeks later. Oh, Shona. My family banned us from Xmas 5 years ago. We haven't had any contact since. My sister used to be my best friend. She completely changed. Oh, Annette. You know, these I actually think we should do a vigil show. I'm really thinking we should pick a day and do a vigil, you know, because look at this pain here that we're all carrying, apart from the fact we're just losing people left, right, and center, you know. I still can't get my head around the fact that they got the jab to protect themselves from it, but felt threatened by an unvaccinated family member. It is completely and utterly nuts. That's right. I actually think, Leander, knowing the people in my life I have relationships with, but it's like here, we're not, you know, it's here, that there's this unspoken thing. And to me, I remember a mate told me he was trying to get his wife to wake up to what was happening. But she actually said to him, when the government tells you to do something, you just do it. So that's her belief. You know, she doesn't question it. That's it. You just do it. And I remember another mate who lost his marriage and everything. He got his wife to watch some videos until she finally said, I agree. It's bad what's happening. She agreed with everything, but she said, I'm so small, they're so big, I'm going to do what they tell me. And maybe this is it, you know. Anyway, she took the kids, and even though he used to be a very well-respected member of the community, because he wouldn't get vaccinated, he lost the kids, lost his wife, lost everything. So basically, whoever's behind all of this, the main thing they're looking to try do is get people to comply. They want slaves, you know. So if you're out there and you're thinking, if you're watching this now and you're thinking, I'll just stay silent, I'll just stay silent, you're actually imprisoning yourself. And the longer you do it, the harder to get out. And the only way to get out is this. You just go, no, I'm not putting up with this. No, unacceptable. And if all of us did it, then we're liberated. The interview with Reiner was staggering last night. Oh, that's going up 2 now. Oh, okay. Okay, so it looks like she's been banned. What else can we do? Might send her, I'll just send her another link. Oh, okay, Ellie's already done that. Maybe tell her to restart her computer. Okay, we shall wait here. Oh, well, while we're waiting, I just want to post this, and I'll bring it back. This is, I just wanted to post this because it was really, really beautiful. So we were interviewing, we did a show the other night, I don't know if you saw it, called Waiting for Reiner. It was me and Paul, and unfortunately, the phone call didn't work. It worked last night, and I recorded it last night, but it didn't work that night. And I said to Troy, why don't you write a song called Waiting for Reiner? And he just got onto it. And before the show finished, he said this. I'll play this for now, and we'll see if she comes back. So just have a listen to this, and the Reiner interview is coming.
They took you past the courthouse gate with winter on the stone. You raised your voice when others bowed and faced the cell alone. A folded letter in your coat, a photograph of home. The guards can lock an iron door, but they can't own what you've known. We're waiting on Reiner, a good man standing tall, for every hand that would not bend, for every voice they stall. The years may mark the calendar, the walls may hide your face, but truth is walking toward you still, and freedom knows your name. Your mother keeps the kitchen lights until the morning train. Your brother reads the news aloud and says your name again. A little flag beside the sink, a cup you used to hold. Small things become a kind of oath when courage has a cost. We're waiting on Reiner, a good man standing tall, for every hand that would not bend, for every voice they stall. The years may mark the calendar, the walls may hide your face, but truth is walking toward you still, and freedom knows your name. No tyrant writes the final line, no prison seals the sky. A nation hears the quiet ones who chose not to comply, and when the heavy doors swing wide, we'll meet you in the rain, not as a symbol carved in stone, but as our friend again. We're waiting on Reiner, a good man standing tall. You kept your heart when power came to make the brave feel small. The years may mark the calendar, the walls may hide your face, but truth has crossed the border now, and freedom knows your name. Keep the kitchen light on, keep one place beside the flame. We're waiting on Reiner, and freedom knows your name.
Okay, we're still waiting to see. We'll just give her a few more minutes to get back. Yeah, it's really interesting. It looks like she's sort of stayed silent on this for like 4 years, hoping that rational heads and fairness and the truth will probably see her get a job back. Now she's realised that she's lost her license as a teacher, and it looks like she was a great teacher and a great principal. And this is what they're doing. This is a perfect example that the state no longer cares. Doesn't care for the kids. Doesn't care for anything. It just cares for compliance. And yeah, extraordinary times. So, but there's a huge fight going on. I see it everywhere. We were talking to Ryder about it last night. I think people are rising up. I think people are realizing there's nowhere forward for them. We've been taking some of this simply not conducive to our souls. So I think bit by bit people realize there's got to be more to life than this. I know Kelly saw something on a chat site of someone said, what's the point of living when you can't afford food, when you can't pay your rent? What's the part of being a part of society? Not unusual for internet jiggery pokery on here, free speech lol. That's right, Marion. Yeah, I know. And he wrote that during the show. So he got away from the show, wrote that and sent it to us. We were actually playing the final song, Exodus, and then he sent us this, and we quit that song and placed that. Yeah, that's right, Christine. That's right. That's like what they did in Russia. You know, if we were in Russia when the USSR, Stalin would have sent us all to the gulags. That's where we would go. That's what they're doing. They just want the compliant, which means society just grinds to a halt, you know. I'll just give her a few more minutes. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm totally with you, Maddie. But what I want to say was the other great thing was Monday's night show with Paul was a community show. We all entertained each other while we were waiting for Reiner. People chatting in the comments to each other and stuff like this. This is the importance of being live. I think that's why we try to go live, because it's just this little community of people who can't just give up, you know. And that's what Reiner says in the interview. The main thing he says is, whatever you do, just do not give up. So, yeah. So I might, while I'm doing this now, waiting for her, I'll get the Reiner interview ready to go up last night. Now, it does look a bit narcissistic because we knew it was going to be just a phone call, but Kelly actually videoed me getting that call, and so that's it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep. Oh, she's still gone. Any news from her, Kel? Oh, her internet is down. Okay, might have to say. I used to like Dolly Parton, but her vaccine song was truly vile. That's right, Tracy. And now they're saying that the vaccine killed her. They've got an outage apparently. So okay, well uh we'll call this over. So I'll post this. So this is the interview with Kathryn Pick. I think she got to say everything she wanted to say. We just didn't wrap up with any hope. So I'll call this a day and get ready. The Rhinoformic interview will be going up in moments. Take care. See ya.